Cecily. Cecily, surely it is Moulton's duty to water flowers, especially at a moment when intellectual pleasures await you. Your German grammar is on the table. Pray open it at page 15. We will repeat yesterday's lesson.
But I don't like German. It isn't at all a becoming language. I know perfectly well I look quite plain after my German lesson.
Child, you know how anxious your guardian is that you should improve yourself in every way. He laid particular stress on your German as he was leaving for town yesterday.
Dear Uncle Jack is so very serious. Sometimes he is so serious, I think he cannot be quite well.
Your guardian enjoys the best of health, and the gravity of his demeanor is especially to be commended in one so comparatively young as he is. I know no one who has a higher sense of duty and responsibility.
I suppose that's why he often looks a little bored when the three of us are together.
Cecily, Mr. Worthing has many troubles in his life. Idle merriment and triviality would be out of place in his conversation. You must remember his constant anxiety about that unfortunate young man, his brother.
I wish Uncle Jack would allow that unfortunate young man, his brother, to come down here sometimes. We might have a good influence on him, Miss Prism. I know you certainly would. You speak German and geography and things of that kind influence a man very much.
I don't think that even I could have any effect on a character that, according to his own brother's admission, is irretrievably weak and vacillating. Indeed, I would not desire to reclaim him. I'm not in favor of this modern mania of turning bad people into good people at a moment's notice. You must put away your diary, Cecily. I really don't see why you should keep a diary at all.
I keep a diary in order to enter down the wonderful secrets of my life. If I didn't write them down, I should probably forget all about them.
Memory, my dear Cecily, is the diary we all carry about with us.
Yes, but it usually chronicles things that have never happened and couldn't possibly have happened. I believe memory is responsible for nearly all of the 3-volume novels Moody sends us.
Do not speak slightingly about the novel. I wrote one myself in earlier days.
Did you really, Miss Prism? How wonderfully clever you are. I hope it did not end happily. I don't like novels that end happily. They depress me so much. And was your novel ever published?
Alas, no. The manuscript, unfortunately, was abandoned. I use the word in the sense of lost or mislaid. To your work, child. These speculations are profitless.
But I see dear Dr. Chasuble coming up through the garden.
Dr. Chasuble, this is indeed a pleasure.
And how are we this morning? Miss Prism, I trust you are well?
Miss Prism has just been complaining of a slight headache. I think it would do her so much good to go for a short stroll with you in the park, Dr. Chasuble.
Cecily, I have not mentioned anything about a headache.
No, Miss Prism, I know that, but I felt instinctively that you had a headache. Indeed, I was thinking about that and not about my German lesson when the rector came in.
I hope, Cecily, you are not inattentive.
Oh, I'm afraid I am.
Well, that is strange. Were I fortunate enough to be Miss Prism's pupil, I would hang upon her lips. I spoke metaphorically. My metaphor was drawn from bees. Mr. Worthing, I suppose, has not returned from town yet.
We do not look for him till Monday afternoon.
Yes, he usually likes to spend his Sunday in London. He's not one of those whose sole aim is enjoyment, as by all accounts that unfortunate young man his brother seems to be. But I must not disturb Egeria and her pupil any longer.
Egeria, my name is Letizia, Doctor.
A classical allusion merely, drawn from the pagan authors. I shall see you both no doubt at evensong.
I think, dear Doctor, I might have a stroll with you. I find I have a headache after all, and a walk might do it good.
With pleasure, Miss Prism, with pleasure. We might go as far as the schools and back.
That would be delightful. Cecily, you will read your political economy in my absence. The chapter on the fall of the rupee you may omit. It is somewhat too exciting for a young girl.
Horrid political economy, horrid geography, horrid German.
Ernest Worthing has just driven over from the station. He has brought his luggage with him.
Mr. Ernest Worthing, B4 of Albany W. Uncle Jack's brother. Did you tell him Mr. Worthing was in town?
Yes, miss. He said he was very anxious to speak to you privately for a moment. He seemed very disappointed. I told him that you and Miss Prism were in the garden.
Pray ask Mr. Ernest Worthing to come out here. And I suppose you better speak to the housekeeper about a room for him.
Yes, miss.
I have never met any really wicked person before. I feel rather frightened. I'm so afraid he will look just like anyone else. He dies.
You are my little cousin Cecily, I'm sure.
You are under some strange mistake. I am not little. In fact, I'm more than usually tall for my age. But I am your cousin Cecily. You, I see from your card, are my Uncle Jack's brother, my cousin Ernest, my wicked cousin Ernest.
Oh, I'm not really wicked at all, Cousin Cecily. You mustn't think that I am wicked.
Well, if you are not, then you have certainly been deceiving us all in a very inexcusable manner. I hope you have not been leading a double life, pretending to be wicked and being really good all the time. That would be hypocrisy.
Oh, of course I have been rather reckless.
I am glad to hear it.
In fact, now you mention the subject, I've been very bad in my own small way.
Well, I don't think you should be so proud of it, though I am sure it must have been very pleasant.
It is much pleasanter being here with you.
I don't see how you are here at all. Uncle Jack won't be back till Monday afternoon.
That is a great disappointment. I'm obliged to go up by the first train on Monday morning. I have a business appointment that I'm anxious to miss.
Couldn't you miss it anywhere but in London?
No, the appointment is in London.
Well, I understand, of course, how important it is not to keep a business engagement if one wants to retain any sense of the beauty of life. But I still think you better wait until Uncle Jack arrives. He wishes to speak to you about your immigrating.
About my what?
You're immigrating. He's gone up to buy your outfit.
I certainly wouldn't let Jack buy my outfit.
He's going to send you to Australia.
Australia? I'd sooner die.
Well, he said at dinner on Wednesday night that you would have to choose between this world, the next world, and Australia.
Oh, well, the accounts I have received of Australia and the next world are not particularly encouraging. This world is good enough for me.
Yes, but are you good enough for it?
I'm afraid not. That is why I want you to reform me. You might make that your mission if you don't mind, Cousin Cecily.
I'm afraid I have no time this afternoon.
Well, would you mind my reforming myself this afternoon?
Well, it is rather quixotic of you, but I think you should try.
I will. I feel better already.
You're looking rather worse.
That is because I'm hungry.
Oh, how thoughtless of me. I should have remembered that when everyone is trying to lead an entirely new life, one should always have regular and wholesome meals. Won't you come in?
Thank you. Might I have a rose? I never have any appetite unless I have a rose first.
A Marischal Neal?
No, I'd sooner have a pink rose.
Why?
Because you are like a pink rose, Cousin Cecily.
Oh, I don't think it can be quite right for you to say such things to me. Miss Prism never does.
Then Miss Prism is a short-sighted old lady. You are the prettiest girl I ever saw.
Miss Prism says that all good looks are a snare.
They are a snare that every sensible man would like to be caught in.
Oh, I don't think I would care to catch a sensible man. I shouldn't know what to talk to him about.
You are too much alone, dear Dr. Chasuble. You should get married. A misanthrope I can understand. A womanthrope, never.
Well, the precept as well as the practice of the primitive church was distinctly against matrimony.
That is obviously the reason why the primitive church has not lasted up to the present day. And you don't seem to realize, dear doctor, that by persistently remaining single, a man converts himself into a permanent public temptation. Men should be more careful. This very celibacy leads weaker vessels astray.
But is a man not equally attractive when married?
No married man is ever attractive except to his wife.
And oftentimes I'm told not even to her.
Where is Cecily?
Perhaps she followed us to the schools.
Mr. Worthing!
Mr. Worthing?
This is indeed a surprise. We did not look for you till Monday afternoon.
I have returned sooner than expected. Dr. Chospel, I hope you're well.
Dear Mr. Worthing, I trust this garb of woe does not betoken some terrible calamity.
My brother.
More shameful deaths and extravagance.
Still leading his life of pleasure.
Dead.
Your brother Ernest dead?
Quite dead.
What a lesson for him. I trust he will profit by it.
Dear Mr. Worthing, I offer my sincere condolence. You can take consolation in the fact that you were always the most generous and forgiving of brothers.
Poor Ernest. He had many faults, but it's a sad, sad blow.
Yes, very sad indeed. Were you with him at the end?
No, he died in Paris, in fact. I had a telegram from the manager of the Grand Hotel.
Was the cause of death mentioned?
Severe chill, it seemed.
None of us are perfect. I myself am peculiarly susceptible to drafts. Will the interment take place here?
No, he seemed to express a desire to be buried in Paris.
In Paris. I feel that hardly points to any very serious state of mind at the last. You would, no doubt, wish me to make some slight allusion to this tragic domestic affliction next Sunday. My sermon on the meaning of the manna in the wilderness can be adapted to almost any occasion, joyful, or as in the present case, distressing. I've preached it at harvest celebrations, at confirmations and christenings, on days of humiliation and on festal days. The last time I preached it was as a charity sermon at the cathedral, on behalf of the Society for the Prevention of Discontent among the upper orders. The bishop who was present was much struck by some of the analogies I drew.
You mentioned christenings, I think, Dr. Chospel. I suppose you're not a christener, right? I mean, you're continually christening, aren't you?
It is, I regret to say, one of the rector's most constant duty in this parish. I have often spoken to the poorer classes on the subject, but they don't seem to know what thrift is.
But is there any particular infant in whom you are interested, Mr. Worthing? Your brother was, I believe, unmarried, was he not?
Yes, quite unmarried.
People who live entirely for pleasure usually are.
But it's not for any child, dear doctor, for I am very fond of children. No, the fact is, I would like to be christened myself this afternoon, if you have nothing else better to do.
But surely, Mr. Worthing, you've been christened already.
I don't remember anything about it. I don't know if this thing would bother you in any way, or if you think I'm too old now.
Not at all. The sprinkling, or indeed the immersion of adults, is a purely canonical practice.
Immersion?
You need have no apprehension. Sprinkling is all that is necessary, or indeed, I think, advisable. Our weather is so changeable. At what hour would you wish the ceremony be performed?
Oh, I might trot around 5, if that suits you.
Perfectly, perfectly. In fact, I have 2 similar ceremonies to perform at that time. A recent case of twins on one of the outlying cottages of your very estate. Poor Jenkins the carter, a most hard-working man.
Oh no, I see no fun being christened with babies. That sounds childish. Would 5:30 do?
Admirably, admirably. And now, Mr. Worthing, I will not intrude any longer into a house of sorrow. I beg only that you not be too weighed down by grief. What seem to us to be bitter trials are often blessings in disguise.
This seems to me a blessing of an extremely obvious kind.
Uncle Jack! Oh, I am pleased to see you back. But what horrid clothes you've got on. Do go and change them.
Cecily!
What's the matter, Uncle Jack? Do look happy. You look as though you had a toothache. And I have got such a surprise for you. Who do you think is in the dining room? Your brother.
Who?
Your brother, Ernest. He arrived about half an hour ago.
Oh, what nonsense! I don't have a brother!
Oh, don't say that. Whatever past that he may have done to you in the past, he is still your brother. You couldn't be so heartless as to disown him. I'll go and get him, and you will shake hands with him, won't you, Uncle Jack?
These are indeed joyful tidings.
After we had all been resigned to his loss, his sudden return seems to me peculiarly distressing.
My brother in the dining room. Oh, I don't know what this all means. Just utterly absurd. Oh, good heavens!
Brother John, I have come down from town to tell you that I'm very sorry for all the trouble that I've given you, and that I intend to lead a better life in the future.
Uncle Jack, you're not going to refuse to shake your own brother's hand.
Nothing will induce me to take his hand. I think his coming down here is disgraceful, and he knows perfectly well why.
Uncle Jack, do be nice. There is some good in everyone. Ernest was just telling me about his poor invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, whom he goes to visit so often.
Of course, I admit the faults were all on my side, but I must say that I think that Brother John's coldness to me is peculiarly painful. I expected a more enthusiastic welcome, especially considering it is the first time I've come here.
Uncle Jack, if you don't shake hands with Ernest, I will never forgive you.
Suppose I must then.
It's pleasant, is it not, to see so perfect a reconciliation? I think we should go and leave the brothers together.
Cecily, you will come with us.
Certainly, Miss Prism, I feel very happy.
Young scoundrel Algie, you've got to leave. I don't want Bunbury here.
I put Mr. Ernest's things in the room next to yours, sir.
What?
I suppose that's all right.
What?
I suppose that's all right.
His luggage.
Yes, sir.
I'm afraid I can't say more than a week this time.
Merriman, order the car at once. Mr. Ernest has been called back into town quite suddenly.
Yes, sir.
What a fearful liar you are, Jack. I haven't been called back to town at all.
Yes, you have.
I haven't heard anyone call me.
Your duty as a gentleman calls you back.
My duty as a gentleman has never interfered with my pleasures in the smallest degree.
And I can quite understand that.
Cecily is a darling.
You will not talk of Miss Carter that way! I don't like it!
Well, I don't like your clothes. You look perfectly ridiculous in them. Why on earth don't you go up and change? It is perfectly childish to be in mourning over a man who is actually staying a whole week with you in your house as a guest.
You're not staying at my place for a week as a guest or as anything else. You've got to leave by the 4:05 train.
I certainly won't leave you so long as you are in mourning. It would be most unfriendly. If I were in mourning, you would stay with me, I suppose. I should think it very unkind if you didn't.
Where will you go if I change my clothes?
Yes, if you were not too long. I never saw anybody take so long to dress and with such little result.
At any rate, it's far better than being overdressed as you are.
If I am occasionally a little overdressed, I make up for it by being always immensely overeducated.
Your vanity is ridiculous. Your conduct is an outrage, and your presence in my garden absurd. However, you have got to leave by the 4:05, and I hope you have a pleasant journey back into town, because this Bunburying, as you call it, has not been a great success for you.